Hi there, it's Carrie here, Get Your Vibe Right, and I am a certified body code practitioner, which means that I do a form of energy medicine, energy release. Mostly I do this via distance, and this is one of the most fascinating things I've ever experienced is being able to sort of get inside of people's energy systems or their subconscious mind and see what it is that's causing certain blocks that they're having, causing certain heightened emotions they're having, and struggles that they're having in their life. And one of the more interesting things, and certainly something that a lot of people struggle with, is addiction. And we say the word addiction and we think of addiction in a certain context, something that there's a 12-step program for example. Maybe you're trying to stop smoking or drinking or maybe you have an addiction to food or something like that. And this body code system has a really interesting take on where addiction comes from. What is the root cause of addiction? And I really love this. It totally makes sense to me. What it's called, this energy of addiction, and I want to invite you to broaden your horizons on what addiction means. I'm going to give you an example in a minute that I think will do that. But this idea in the body code is called a seeking heart energy. Interesting. And the concept behind it is that before we come into these human fleshy bodies, I call it a flesh puppet, is that we have an energy that infuses this body. Some of you will call it a soul, some will call it a spirit, but we all kind of agree that beyond the physical, there is an energy that exists that is essentially us, that contains a lot of our uniqueness, that is a signature, a vibratory signature, if you will, of who we are. And before we come into these physical bodies, before we have this physical experience, that energy exists in the cosmos. It is one with everything. It is out there somewhere. And when these physical bodies give out on us, almost every culture on the planet has the concept that that essence of who we are, that energy of who we are, returns as well. Some people will say it goes to heaven. Others will say that it reincarnates into a new body. There are a lot of theories of what happens to this essence once our physical body perishes away. But where addiction comes from in this way of thinking is that experience of being one with everything, the unity of all things, the wholeness, the fullness, the love, the unconditional love that we experience if you are somebody who believes in a higher power, God, a spirit, something, what it would feel like to be one with that energy. It's everything. It's completely fulfilling. We have no needs. We experience no lack. We have no self-doubt. We are completely whole. We're completely fulfilled. And all we experience is love. And the idea of addiction, when it comes to the body code, is that we carry the memory of that, the knowledge of that connection with source energy with us into this world. And at some point, we become aware of our separation from, we experience what we feel to be separation from that energy, from that sense of wholeness, from that sense of being completely loved and completely cared for. And that there's obviously a certain amount of pain that comes from not having that sense anymore, not being able to experience that to its fullest. And sometimes we find satisfaction, we find joy, we find comfort in other things in our world. Sometimes that looks like food. Sometimes, there are certain drugs that will give us that kind of sensation. And we mistake this thing in our physical world for that same connection that we had. Or, we're seeking heart energy is all about seeking that sense of comfort, that sense of wholeness. And we find something that's incredibly satisfying in our lives and we substitute it for that, and that turns it into an addiction. So now, I said a couple minutes ago that I wanted you to be open about your idea of what we could be addicted to. So for example, in myself, a few years ago, when I was doing a healing session for me, I found that I had a seeking heart energy that was seeking other people's approval. That when I had other people's approval, probably started with the approval of my parents and then peers and partners and, business colleagues and things throughout the years, that filled me up. It made me feel whole. It gave me a sense of self-satisfaction and joy and all of those same sensations. And I became addicted to needing that, wanting that approval. And we all know what that can do to us. It makes us a pleaser, right? It turned me into a total people pleaser. I was addicted. I needed that to feel good about myself, to feel whole. And so I would do things, I would compromise myself. I would do things for others. When I really probably needed to take care of myself, I would say yes. I was always seeking that approval. So the beauty of something like the body code is that it can help us identify that and release it. And once that need is no longer there, that addiction energy is no longer there, we can move forward in the world in a new and different way. We might still have to unlearn some old programming that went along with that addiction, but the energy, the impulse, that is no longer there. And we can start to navigate the world in a new way without that need pulling on us all the time. And we can work through some of the other things that came along with that and maybe created that and finally emerge out of the other side of it. So again, this is just one of the things that I help people with, and these are very subtle sometimes. This isn't as clear as, drinking a little too much or eating a bag of chips or having these sort of conventional addictions that we all know about. These can be other things, and something like the body code can really help you identify what those are, clear the energy of that, which opens a space in your life for healing anything that came along with that addiction, and finally moving through and beyond it. And this is something that I would be very happy to help you with. If it's something you feel like, if something I said in there you thought, oh, yeah, that sounds like me, I can identify with that, or I think I have that. Trust your intuition. Follow your own inner knowing. I think it can never steer you wrong. And seek out someone like me or me who could maybe help you with this situation, because until that energy is released from your body, you will continue to struggle with that addictive behavior.